starred in classic movies like My Three Sons and Double Indemnity. Do you remember him? His unique roles in classic movies made him famous, but few people know about the inner demons that tormented him. Today we will look at Fred's life story, looking at his successes and the bad habits he picked up that led to his sad death. Frederick Martin McMurray was born on August 30th, 1908. His parents, Martin and Frederick Tage McMurray, were from Wisconsin. There, Frederick's father played the violin in concerts, and his aunt Fay Holderness was an actress and performer in vaudeville. No one in the McMurray family stayed for long. When Frederick was a baby, the family moved to Madison, Wisconsin, where his father did the right thing and became a music teacher. But the family's troubles were far from over. They were soon going to be moving to Beaver Dam, Wisconsin, where Frederick's mother was born, and then to Quincy, Illinois. Frederick's early years were spent in this place where he focused on his studies full-time. He was an athletics fanatic who could be seen playing football, track, or baseball. Frederick worked at a nearby peace center to make extra money when he wasn't playing sports. For his hard work, Carroll College in Waukesha, Wisconsin, gave him a full scholarship. It was during this time that Frederick found a new instrument that he loved playing, the saxophone. He picked it up as a hobby and quickly became a pro. Frederick was a regular member of several local bands, but that wasn't the end of his musical pursuits. Evening lessons at the Chicago Art Institute helped him improve his saxophone playing, and he had no idea that this musical hobby would have a huge effect on his career later on. In 1928, Frederick's life took an unexpected turn when he took his sick mother to Los Angeles to see family. This was the start of Frederick's journey into show business. Frederick found work as a film extra in Los Angeles. He kept playing the saxophone, but now he did it with the California Collegians to make extra money. The band's roots can be traced back to the Warner Brothers Hollywood Theater Pit Orchestra. Frederick's luck was about to change, but he was still only making $10 a day from his side job. After many auditions, the California Collegians were cast in the Broadway musical Three's a Night. Frederick packed his bags and headed to New York City because of this chance. New York City was a place where Frederick's skills were recognized. In the musical Three's a Crowd, which ran from 1930 to 1931, a crowd offered him a part in a stellar cast that included Libby Holman, Clifton Webb, and Fred Allen. From January 1st, 1933 to 1934, Frederick continued his successful Broadway career by playing Roberta in the musical with Sidney Greenstreet and Bob Hope. Hollywood took notice of Frederick. As Frederick McMurray's fame grew, he signed a legendary film contract with Paramount Pictures in 1934. This was the start of his legendary film career. He went on to work with Preston Sturges and Billy Wilder, two legendary directors. His list of co-stars includes Marlene Dietrich, Henry Fonda, Humphrey Bogart, Barbara Stanwyck, and many more. Claudette Colbert was one of Frederick's regular collaborators, starting with The Gilded Lily. During this time, he co-starred in 7 movies and was romantically involved with other famous women. He was in Alice Adams with Katharine Hepburn, Above Suspicion with Joan Crawford, and 4 productions with Carole Lombard. His roles in these movies usually showed him as a good guy with a good heart. Comedies, melodramas, and musicals were some of the other places he showed off his acting skills. In The Trail of the Lonesome Pine, Frederick demonstrated his mastery of the classic good guy role that would define his career. The more famous Frederick became, the more money he made. In 1943, he was making $420,000 a year, which put him in the top 4 highest-paid Americans and made him the highest-paid actor in Hollywood. The next year, when his earnings soared to $439,000, He solidified his position at the top of Hollywood's pay scale. Frederick chose not to serve in the military during in his Brentwood neighborhood during WWII. He sold war bonds and worked as an air raid warden to help the war effort. Most of his films during this time were meant to inspire the troops, and they continued to do so even after the war ended. Frederick's film career took off after an interesting event happened in 1947 while filming The Agony. In that movie, Claudette Colbert and Frederick each signed one egg from each of the 50 cartons, and then they took the eggs. He sold them at a nearby farmer's market and gave the money raised to the Braille Institute of America. Frederick M.C. McMurray was usually cast as the nice guy, but he liked playing parts that broke that mold. He often said that the roles that let him be himself the most were the ones that paid off the most. In the classic noir movie Double Indemnity, Frederick gave a performance that will go down in cinematic history. In history, an insurance salesman named Walter Neff and his greedy wife planned to kill their husband in this masterpiece by Billy Wilder. Frederick played the part. This was Frederick's favorite role because it was so different from his usual roles as nice guys. In 1956, he said, "This role demonstrated my ability to do real acting in Edward Demetrius's The Key Mutiny." Frederick played Lieutenant Thomas, which was another role that was very different from his usual ones. Frederick McMurray worked with Billy Wilder again for The Apartment, this time playing the role of corporate double-crosser Jeff Sheldrick. Because he was so good at playing complex, morally gray characters, Frederick was able to show off his range in these roles, which gave his filmography more depth. Toward the end of the 1950s, Frederick began looking into TV roles and made a successful move to that medium. Frederick made a comeback to radio by co-starring with Irene Dunne in Bright Star. In this show, Frederick played a news reporter for a small town. Frederick, who had already found success in the film industry, was hesitant to go too far into television. Hadda Hopper interviewed him in 1956, and he said that he had been offered the part of Perry Mason on TV, but he turned it down because he didn't want to do the work that comes with TV work. He was probably just being lazy. He became famous on TV with My Three Sons, which ran from 1960 to 1972 and had 12 seasons. The show became an iconic part of Frederick's career and cemented his place in television history. Even while he was on My Three Sons, Frederick kept making movies. The Absent-Minded Professor and Son of Flub, both produced by Disney, starred him as Professor Ned Brainerd. Frederick won over a new generation of fans with his comedic skills in these movies aimed at. Frederick was able to get better terms for his TV work because of his fame. His contract with My Three Sons said that he would be videotaped first in 2 separate month-long filming blocks. This gave Frederick more freedom to run his property in Northern California, play golf, and look for film work. I think we've talked enough about Frederick's career, so let's talk about his love life. Like many others, Frederick had a partner who helped him. Frederick McMurray was married twice, and in both relationships there was a spirit of friendship, mutual respect, and love. In 1934, a tragic meeting happened in the middle of the chaos of New York City streets. Frederick McMurray, a young, ambitious actor, was seen acting with a group of California college students in the Broadway production of Roberta. It was there that he met Lillian Lamont, who would later become his first wife. There was an instant and powerful bond between the two. When they met on Broadway, they fell deeply in love. But McMurray had to leave New York and his new relationship when the demands of his growing career called him back to Hollywood. When he got back to Hollywood, he got into a funny fight with another actor, and gossip journalist Leela Parsons, who is known for meddling in people's love lives, asked him to date her. He politely turned her down, saying that his heart had already spoken. Other sources say that the upset journalist responded by trying to ruin McMurray's career. On the other hand, some say that newspaper magnate William Randolph Hearst had already set up a different date for the actor, and that McMurray had turned down his offer. Time seems to have healed all wounds, whatever they were. The relationship between McMurray and Lamont grew stronger while they were apart, and in 1934 they told the press that their engagement was only a test run. Going against the norm, they were able to see if they were compatible before making a formal commitment. McMurray explained their reasoning, saying they wanted to make sure that their personalities would work well with their chosen professions. This careful approach showed the couple's realistic outlook and their commitment to building a strong foundation for their relationship. In the early months of 1936, it was time to jump in, and McMurray and Lamont were ready. The couple, along with McMurray's mom, got on a plane to Las Vegas on the evening of June 19, 1936, to secretly get married away from the paparazzi. No one knew about the wedding because it happened without warning, surprising friends and studio officials. When word got out that the actors were missing, there was a mad dash to find them. They had no idea that McMurray and Lamont were saying their vows in the world's most famous wedding location on the same day that they surprised everyone with their impromptu wedding. The newlyweds and McMurray's mother. When they got back to Hollywood, they had a small ceremony to start their lives together as husband and wife. In 1945, they moved into a two-story colonial house in Brentwood with 10 rooms. Jimmy Stewart and Henry Fonda were two famous people who lived in the neighborhood, and the McMurrays quickly became known as one of Hollywood's happiest couples. They liked to keep to themselves, but they loved having their Hollywood friends over for both small and large events. Clark Gable and Carol Lombard were close friends, and the three of them often barbecued together on Sundays. Lombard's presence always made the events more exciting, as she had a way with words and antics that would make everyone laugh. She brought a little of the glitz of Hollywood to the McMurrays' otherwise calm home life. Their marriage was full of love and joy, but renal and cardiac problems plagued Lillian for a long time, and many people thought that the couple's decision to adopt was because of these health problems. Susan, the McMurray family's first child, was born in 1940. In 1942, the adoption was finalized, bringing the joys of motherhood into their home. 4 years later, they adopted Robert, a child who was 1.5 years old, to add to their family. Early in the 1950s, her health started to get worse, and she died in June 1953, not long after the couple celebrated their 17th wedding anniversary. In 2006, years after the fact, a biographer of McMurray talked to Lillian's cousin and found out that Lillian had bulimia. Her lifelong health problems may have been made worse by her eating disorder, which may have started when she was modeling for McMurray. Losing Lillian was a tragedy. It was a devastating blow for McMurray because she had brought him so much happiness through love, friendship, and family. As he dealt with his loss, in 1953 he ran into actress June Haver, who he had worked with briefly in the past, at a gay-themed party that his friend John Wayne had planned. The two had briefly met in 1945 while filming Where Do We Go From Here, but hadn't talked much after that. Even though it had been 8 years, neither of them wanted to go to Wayne's party, but that fateful night they did. McMurray and H had mixed feelings about going to the party, but they ended up leaving together because something clicked, and they quickly became involved. This was not a happy time in June H's life. Her fiancé, Dr. John Duke, died unexpectedly in 1949, and she seriously considered making a life-changing choice. As a result of this tragedy, Hover, who was very religious, thought about entering the convent she was living in. Meeting with Pope Pius XII in 1951 to talk about her vocation. After this, she decided to enter a convent, but after 8 months, she realized that the convent life was not her destiny. After this, she realized that her true purpose would bring her full circle to the entertainment industry, where Frederick M.C. McMurray embraced her when they saw each other again at John Wayne's party. McMurray and Age's relationship grew, and they decided to take it to the next level once a socially acceptable amount of time had passed since Lillian's death. Their love was unique, and so was McMurray's proposal to Haver. He bought the good luck pinky ring that belonged to performer Red Skelton after a normal trip to the pharmacy. The real proposal added a little bit of magic to their love story. In the first week of August 1954, they announced their wedding date, but they actually got married on June 28th, more than a month early. The wedding of McMurray and Haver happened in the beautiful Ojai Valley, thanks to the help of their travel agency owner friend Ray Cardillo. After the surprise wedding in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, the newlyweds went on their honeymoon while McMurray finished filming The Far Horizons. According to an interview McMurray gave in 1954, he had a major operation after a fall at Fox Studios a few years before the wedding, so the couple had doubts. Fertility, McMurray and Haver decided to adopt a child. Their children, Lorianne and Katie Marie, were born to them in 1956 and are fraternal twins. McMurray remembered how they took in the twins as soon as they were born. After her marriage to McMurray, Haven decided to take a break from her career in Hollywood. In a 1958 episode of the Lucy Desi Comedy Hour, she played a role that would be her last on screen. Are you happy with her? The decision seemed to say that she no longer wanted to be an actress. She was happy with her new roles as a wife and mother, saying, "I have a lot to keep me busy now that I have 4 kids in the family." McMurray made it clear that he would not get in the way of H's decision to return to acting, and he supported her choice. He said he didn't want to be the one to take her off the screen. That was her choice. "I'd rather have her at home, but I'm cool with it," he said. "If she wants to take a picture of something, she can." McMurray's second marriage to Lillian Lamont was a happy and stable union. Their unbreakable bond was based on mutual respect, shared ideals, and a commitment to family life. Even though Frederick McMurray had a happy and fulfilling personal life in his later years, he started to feel a darker side to his reality as her health got worse and her death loomed. The carefree days of Hollywood glory started to fade. He continued to smoke for as long as he could. McMurray will have bad things happen because of what he did. As a bitter reminder of the price he had paid for his vice, he was diagnosed with throat cancer in the late 1970s. Even though he won that first fight, the cancer would come back 10 years later, putting his health at even greater risk. Cancer wasn't his only health problem. In December 1988, he had a major stroke that hurt both his speech and his ability to move his right side of his body. Therapy helped him recover to an impressive 90%, but the damage had already been done. Leukemia, a cruel disease that McMurray had been fighting for more than a decade, finally killed him. His many illnesses had made him weak to the point where he died of pneumonia in Santa Monica, California, on November 5, 1991. Even though McMurray had a happy and successful personal life, he was eventually consumed by time and the weight of his own choices. A revered Hollywood icon's life was cut short by the evil that had crept into his surroundings.